Hi guys, welcome to Tick Back Time. Thank you guys so much for supporting me over the past few months. I think before I get into the video showcasing you the Omega Aqua Terra in 38mm, I would just like to thank all the people who have supported this channel so far. I know I've not been making videos for a few months now, and I deeply apologize for that. I'm really doing this as a hobby, so the past few months have been pretty hectic for me in terms of work, in terms of personal life. So that being said, I do hope to continue to make more videos in the future and continue on this hobby of mine because I do enjoy making the videos for you guys, and I do hope that I have more watches in the future to showcase to all of you, and we can continue enjoying this hobby together. So without further ado, let's get into the watch of the day, which is the Omega Seamaster Aqua Terra in 38mm. This is the silver dial variant, and I know that Omega in the last year they have produced the new 38mm colors. They have all the reds, the yellows, all the bright colors, very similar to Rolex Oyster Perpetual. But I've had this piece for around a year now. This is the silver dial variant, which looks pretty white in real life, yeah. So I would call it the white dial variant of the 38mm, and I opted to get this on the rubber strap. So I first off the bat, I would just like to say that I have no regrets picking this up. The Aqua Terra is in fact slightly more expensive than the Diver 300 meters, which doesn't really make sense in my opinion because that has a rotating dive bezel. It has the 8900 movement instead of the 8800, which I'll get into it in a little while. But I would say that we buy watches not really for the value of what they give us, right? I mean, of course that is part of our consideration, but it's really about the aesthetics, it's about the looks, even more so than the parts that go into making a watch. So I would say that I have zero regrets picking this up. This is a very lovely piece. I opted to go on the rubber strap instead of the metal bracelet because, well, this rubber strap is very unique in my eye, and it has been really so comfortable on my wrist. I think that because it utilizes holes where instead of any micro adjust is really a little bit of hit and miss, but for me, fortunately, it fit perfectly. So I would say that if you want to go, if you're deciding between the bracelet or the strap, please take note that the spacing between the holes are pretty wide. So if you can get that Goldilocks fit, then well, it will wear like a dream. But if you're in between holes, then unfortunately that would not work for everyone. So I suggest that you go down to an AD to test this out. So I think what I want to do now is because a lot of people who look into these videos for these watches, they like to see what the box comes with. So I'm not gonna tell you guys I'm doing an unboxing because I've had this watch for over a year now, but I'll just quickly go through the box contents so at least you know what to expect when you purchase an Omega piece from Omega, excluding the Speedmaster variants, which I think they have a special box, and the limited edition ones as well. So quickly now, this is the Omega outer cardboard box. Alright, just remove this. And over here what you'll find is they compartmentalized the main box and the operating instructions, which is basically a huge ass manual, which none of us are going to read. Yeah, so it's in all the languages you can think of. And they give you some cards over here. So I won't be showing you guys these two cards because it has my watch serial number on it, but I can show you the pictogram. So what is a pictogram? It is basically the different features that your watch has. So for example, this is COS certified, so the watch is COS certified. It has a 5-year warranty, it's a master chronometer, so it's also META certified. I'll get into that in a little bit. 15,000 gauss of magnetic resistance, and so on and so forth. So this will be slightly different with every watch depending on what features the watch has. And yeah, well, it's just a nice little thing to have, and it's a nice touch in a luxury brand. All right, so putting this aside, this is the main Omega box, and well, I think Omega really really outdoes themselves in terms of packaging versus their competitors. And I feel that, you know, other luxury brands really have no excuse. Like we have even micro brands now that are giving wooden boxes, they are giving metal cases. So I don't see why other luxury brands won't want to give you the experience, but Omega definitely does that well. So okay, you have to push this out a little bit, you have to pull it out a little bit, open this up, and this is where the watch, whoa, this is a really huge box. So sorry I can't get it all in frame, but basically there's an Omega branding here, and it comes on this watch pillow. And some people don't know this, but this is actually a secret compartment. You lift this up and you have things like, yeah, I have my tag, I have the cloth over here, and you can store stuff. So that's very quickly, that is what you will get when you purchase an Omega watch, especially this Omega Aqua Terra in 38mm. This will be exactly what it comes in. Okay, so let me get this out of the way. All right, so back to the watch. So guys, this is the, like I mentioned, it is the 38mm size, and I think let me just ramble through the specs a little bit. So in terms of the sizing, this is a 38mm case, obviously. The lug width is 19mm. The case is 12.2mm thick, and the water resistance is 150 meters. So, you know, I think a lot of people will be thinking that, wow, a 38mm case, isn't that very small by today's standards? But for reference, I have around a 6.9 to 7 inch wrist, more leaning towards the 6.9 side. And I think this definitely wears perfectly on my wrist size. So if you look at how it wears on me, it doesn't look small at all. I think there are two reasons. One of the reason is because this watch has no bezel, no rotating bezel. Of course, there's a metal bezel over here. So the dial is a little bit bigger than the usual dive watches that we see today. And also the color really makes the dial appear larger than maybe a black or a dark blue variant. Right? So as you can see, it is definitely not a small watch. And I think that, you know, Omega, they have the Aqua Terra in both the 38 and the 42mm sizes. I think that most people who have around a 7 to maybe a 7.2, 7.3 inch wrist should be getting the 38mm watch. And only, you know, larger wrist sizes should go for the 42. I think that's really a bit too big for someone of my wrist size. I tried on both at the boutiques and at the ADs, and definitely this size is more suitable. But then again, you know, when it comes to watches, it's really about personal preference. So let's take a closer look at the dial for this variant. So the dial of this 38mm Aqua Terra, and this is the, I think it's the one generation prior to the current colorful dials, and this has that sort of textured surface, which Omega says is supposed to represent the decks of a sailboat. So thus the Aqua Terra is supposedly trying to be marketed towards that life, you know, sitting on your sailboat, enjoying the good life, sipping wine and champagne. Yeah. So I like this textured dial. I don't really fancy the new sunburst dials of the new Aqua Terra 38mm. I think this really gives it more depth. It gives it more identity as compared to just a simple sunburst dial, which has been done to death in my opinion. But yeah, if you just take a look at this, how amazing that looks. And for this particular silver white dial variant, the indices and the hands are sort of like gunmetalish. It is not polished bright silver, but it is sort of this darker gunmetal shade, which I really adore as well. And this flows through to the logo. Yeah, so it's consistent around all the shiny surfaces within the dial. And yeah, we have a date wheel here, which is also in white. And I think basically that is it for the dial, but it's such an amazing dial. I really love this look, and even after a year, I'm not sick of it, you know. I haven't fallen out of love of this look and this model. I still think is really the best purchase amongst all the other options which I was considering at that time, which included the larger 42mm Aqua Terras, the Diver 300M. I already have a Black Bay 58, so I don't really need another diver in that sense. So yeah, this is how it looks, and I think it looks amazing. So moving on to, let's get the aesthetics out of the way before I speak more about the movement. So moving on to the rubber strap. As I mentioned, you can pick this up on either this rubber strap or bracelet. I believe the bracelet that this comes with is that butterfly clasp sort of closure at the clasp area, but I opted to go for this rubber style integrated rubber strap option, and the reason why is because it's so unique, right? You can get definitely, you know, like in terms of Rolex, you have Everest, you have Vanguard, who else do you have? You have a few other Rubber Bee, you have a few other third-party makers that make integrated rubber straps, but no one does it like Omega for the Aqua Terra series. So there's this metal piece here, and the rubber is integrated and there's no sunlight whatsoever. So from what I have read online, there are two bars that go into this. So one is of course the normal spring bar to attach the strap to the case, but there's another bar to serve as some stability bar, you know, like to ensure that this is very, very secure and very rigid to lock this metal piece in place. So also something to note is that this rubber strap with this metal piece and this clasps, if you were to buy this combo separately, for example, if you have the bracelet and you want to get this on your watch, it's going to cost even more than buying a bracelet separately. So the conventional wisdom of always buying the watch on the bracelet to save money will probably not apply here. So when you get this watch on this bracelet, you are saving a couple of $100 off the bat compared to the bracelet version. And if you want to get both options, it's cheaper to go rubber strap plus bracelet versus bracelet plus rubber strap further down the road. I hope that makes sense, yeah? So yeah, this is very overpriced. You know, it's a luxury piece in terms of what you have to pay for these things. I believe it's like $1,000 for the whole combo. Yeah, I'm speaking in general terms, of course. It depends on your country, but it's not cheap. It's really very expensive. So I have no regrets choosing the rubber strap variant because it has been a year now. I don't wear this watch every day. I wear it probably twice a week or 3 times a week. But as you can see, the rubber strap shows zero signs of wear. So there's a lovely threading through on both sides, and there's this this pattern is part of the texture of the rubber, and there is zero wear and tear, I tell you. So it's really holding up well to daily life. I don't take this watch hiking or anything, so I would say that for, you know, the casual wearer, going to malls, going to the beach, simple stuff like that, this strap will last you a really long time. And it comes with this deployant, Omega branded deployant over here. It has a very nice logo that is not engraved, but in fact it is a 3D logo that I think is soldered on there. Yeah, it gets a bit of dirt, but it has a very nice action to click it into place. And the way you adjust this is really by using these holes. Yep, so as I've mentioned earlier, you know, if you can get a good fit with this, it's going to be very comfortable. If you can't, well, unfortunately, yeah, you may face problems with fit because there's no micro adjust here. So please try it out at the AD before you decide on whether to go with the bracelet version or this rubber strap version. So moving on to the movement, this Aqua Terra runs on the 8800 coaxial 8800 movement master chronometer, and I think it's very strange the way Omega decided to price the Aqua Terras, because this runs on the 8800 movement, whereas the Seamaster Diver 300M runs on the 8900 movement. So what's the difference between the two? Both are master chronometer meta certified, which means that basically this watch will always, you know, is tested to, there are many positions they are tested to with a variance of 0 to +5 seconds a day. If you compare this to COSC, COSC states that a watch must perform between -4 to +6 seconds a day, of course, in the various positions that they require the watch to be in. So this is really taking it one step further. I have tested the accuracy on this watch and it has consistently come back with around +1 second a day. So I must say I'm very impressed with the accuracy of this movement. And I think furthermore, it is also anti-magnetic to 15,000 Gauss. So 15,000 Gauss is even, I've read that is even higher than what an MRI machine can put out. So definitely not to worry about magnetic resistance there. So yeah, this case back is a see-through clear case back, which really allows you to appreciate what the movement looks like. Yeah, so it's really beautiful. It's nicely done, nicely finished. And well, yeah, if that's your thing, I think you will definitely enjoy this watch because it really lets you see the beauty of the movement inside. Okay, so for what in terms of water resistance, this watch is 150 meters, which is way more enough for me. I don't take this watch anywhere near water other than the occasional hand washing and rain, so I can't attest to, you know, how useful that is, but it's really a nice feature to have, you know, in this sort of style watch. Sometimes we only get 30 meters, sometimes we get 50 meters, and it's a very reassuring thing to know that it's at least 150 meters of water resistance. So guys, what do you think of this watch? I think it looks amazing. I think this is one of the most elegant sports watches that Omega has. You know, you don't want to go too dressy. You don't want to go to like the DeVille or something like that. But you still want to have a little bit of fun, and you're so tired of all the divers out there. Well, I think this watch is an excellent option for you to pick up. Let me get this on wrist again. Yep, so once again, this is the watch on my 7-inch, 6.9 to 7-inch wrist. And I will just do a nice wrist roll for you guys. Unfortunately, I can't give you a real loom shot now. Maybe I'll do that in a future video if I'm comparing this watch to something else. I'm waiting for my UV torch to come from, yeah, my online purchases. So once I get that, I could do a loom shot for you guys. But something I want to really say about the loom is that it is not very impressive because the loom is only on the indices, these white areas, plus the tip of the minutes hand, the seconds hand, and that tiny bit in the hours hand. So don't expect this watch to really have a lot of loom. It is more a daytime watch. It really shimmers in the daylight, but at night it does not perform well as a watch with luminescence to light up your night. So that is the Omega Seamaster Aqua Terra 38mm silver dial. Thank you guys so much for the support. As usual, stay safe and take care of yourselves and your families. See you on the next one.